There's a huge debate happening right now, and it's all about the future of real estate as a profession. And we're not talking about the usual stuff like commissions or the latest tech. No, this is about something much more fundamental. An agent's freedom to market a property and, well, their ultimate duty to their client. So let's break down what's really at stake here.
So, where is this all coming from? Well, the perspective we're digging into today comes from a place of some serious experience. We're talking 50 years in the business, over 10,000 homes sold, and a background in real estate law. So this isn't just some theory, right? This is a point of view that's been built over decades of real-world practice, sitting at thousands of kitchen tables with sellers just like yours.
And right off the bat, the author of our source material, Greg Hague, makes it crystal clear who this conversation is really for. Yeah, a recent piece by Compass CEO Robert Reffkin might have kicked things off, but the real issue, that's about every single agent out there trying to make it in today's market. It's about your business, your license, and your clients.
Okay, so let's be really clear about what's on the line. This is not just some small disagreement over a few rules. The argument being made here is that this is a full-on fight for the very definition of what it means to be a real estate professional.
Now, to really get what's going on, we have to rewind a bit. We got to go back to the beginning. Because the multiple listing service, the MLS, it actually started as this truly brilliant, noble idea. Let's take a look at where it all came from, way before the internet took over.
I want you to picture this. Long before Zillow, before any of these data feeds, there were these giant black 3-ring binders. I mean, agents would literally have to flip through pages of photocopied listings to see what other brokers had for sale. Yeah, it sounds pretty primitive, I know, but it was built on this really powerful cooperative idea.
And the original promise of the MLS, wow, it was so simple, but so brilliant. You had brokers just agreeing to share their listings with each other. And what happened? Well, sellers suddenly reached way more buyers got to see way more homes, and the whole market just worked better. It was a true win-win for absolutely everyone.
But here's the thing. Here's the central point of this whole argument. Somewhere along the way, the MLS changed. It went from being this incredibly helpful tool that serves agents to a powerful system that controls them. Let's dig into that difference because it's huge.
Okay, so this chart really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you have the MLS as a tool. And it's amazing, right? It gives us data accuracy, syndication, it helps us cooperate, it empowers professionals. But then there's the flip side. The MLS as a ruler. That's where you get these one-size-fits-all rules that strip away an agent's judgment. And the argument goes, it basically turns professionals into workers who are just following orders. And this gets to what it even means to be a professional. Think about it like this. A doctor doesn't give every single patient the exact same pill, right? A lawyer doesn't use the same exact strategy for every client. A profession, by its very definition, is all about using your independent judgment to do what's best for each unique client. So, what happens when a private organization comes in and slaps a blanket marketing rule on every single listing, no matter what the seller's situation or what they want? Well, the argument is that it completely guts the idea of professionalism. It treats a really complex personal service like it's just some generic item on a shelf. And this is where the whole thing becomes a really serious legal and ethical problem, because it creates this direct showdown between an agent's duty to their client and the rules of the MLS. All right, here's the crucial legal point you've got to understand. In pretty much every state, agents have what's called a fiduciary duty to their seller. And a huge part of that is the duty of obedience. All that means is that you are legally required to follow your client's lawful instructions. Let me say that again. Your client's instructions, not the MLS's.
So let's play this out with a perfect, super common, real-world example. A seller, for their own perfectly good reasons, might tell you, hey, I want to market my home as coming soon for a couple of weeks to see how it goes and avoid racking up those official days on market. And that is a totally lawful request from the person who actually owns the home.
This right here creates what the source material calls a hostage situation. Think about it. Step 1, the seller gives you that lawful instruction. Step 2, you, as the professional, sit down and counsel them on the pros and cons. But then, step 3, the MLS steps in and threatens you with a fine or even taking away your access just for doing what your client asked you to do. So now, you're trapped. You have to choose between your duty to your client and getting punished by the MLS. And this quote just captures the whole mess perfectly. I mean, how can you have a true fiduciary relationship, a relationship built on trust, when you're being threatened with a fine to ignore your client's wishes? It forces you, the agent, into this impossible conflict of interest. Now, for years, the big argument for these strict rules was all about transparency. The idea that the MLS was the only way to get a listing in front of the public. But let's be real, that argument is just obsolete today. Coming soon listings are all over the major portals. They're being seen by hundreds of millions of people. The exposure is absolutely there.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? What's the way out of this? Well, the argument isn't to just blow up the MLS. Not at all. It's about restoring it to its original, incredibly valuable purpose, as a tool that actually serves its members.
And look, this is not some crazy, radical idea that's never been tried. It's already happening. Some of the most forward-thinking, leading MLSs in the country have already adopted more flexible coming soon policies. They're proving that you can absolutely modernize without losing that cooperative spirit.
So the path forward really just boils down to these core principles. It's simple. Let agents actually be the professionals they are. Let sellers choose the marketing plan that's right for them and their family. And let the MLS get back to its real job, to serve, not to rule.
And this right here really brings it all home. After 50 years in this business, our source author lands on this simple truth. Agents are hardworking, they're resilient, and they're professionals who absolutely deserve a system that trusts their judgment and their expertise, instead of one that punishes them for doing their legal duty.
So we end with the one big question at the heart of this entire debate. It's a question for every agent, every broker, and every MLS board across the country. What is the true purpose of the MLS? Is it to serve the professionals who built this industry from the ground up, or is it to rule them?